Hi knitters, welcome to PJ Knits. My name's Penny. I live in Central Illinois and I'm a knitter, a blogger, and a YouTube podcaster. Thanks for stopping by to my channel. Today is Saturday, December 30th. It is in Central Illinois, it's about, it's going on 1 o'clock.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Siri wants to know about a boat. Anyway, it is outside. It's almost 40 degrees. Weather is sunshiny today. We have had a bunch of gloom the last few days, maybe in the 30s or whatever. And so it's so nice to see the sunshine out there. I can totally do sunshine and cool weather. And it's not been overly cool here either. We've had some warm days, but I think in the next week or so, it's going to hover in the 30s somewhere as highs, which is, I'm fine with that. It's there doesn't look like there's snow or forecasted right now, so I am totally okay with all of that weather. I hope the weather wherever you're at is really super as well, and at least you're having some sunshine. So I wanted to fit in one more podcast before the end of the year because I wanted to give you some updates on some things that I have that I've been doing the last couple of weeks, and I want to talk about the Hapalong that's going to start the 1st of January 2024. So let's just get started. A reminder, I want to let you all know, first up, the Burra Cowl, K-A-L, is coming to an end on the 31st. So if you have knit one of those, please post it on either Instagram or Ravelry in the PJ Knits Ravelry group, and I will have a drawing, and I'll compile both of the places and do #PJKnittsBurraCowl on Instagram, and I will, like I said, I will compose both of those, all the entries, and I will have a sandy bag that I will draw on, let's say, sometime on the 1st, and I will let you know the winner on the next podcast. So that's the place where I will let you know in 2024 who won that. So if you would post yours there. Mine is still in progress, and partially because there's so many other things that I want to be knitting on now, as is a lot of people, right, for sure. So that is coming to an end. And thank you to everyone who has participated throughout all of the many podcasts that have been doing it. There's been some great cowls out there, and there's been some great colors. Some people finished it right away, and some of us, like others, are still knitting on it, which is perfectly fine. Just post your entries and we'll get that done. So that is, I wanted to do a reminder of that. And I wanted to do a Advent kind of wrap up as far as my Advents were concerned. I did, the one that I purchased was the Door County coffee, which was a pot of coffee every day in December, which was wonderful. There were some that I loved. There were some that I didn't care for as much, and I added just a little bit more creamer too. But I will do that one again because I do like that very, very much. So I enjoyed that. The other one was the Firefly stitches, stitch markers that I did. That was from a win from last year in 2022 that I won from the Grocery Girls, and I opened one of those each day. And there was some really there was a stitch markers, and I think maybe 1 or 2 progress keepers over the month, and I really enjoyed those. Now I have a lot of stitch markers and progress keepers, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to include some of those that I won throughout the year with some giveaways that we will be doing. So I will share those out with you. And then finally, there is a group of 4 of us ladies. One, Peggy, that I know really well. I've known Peggy for quite some time. And then Suzanne and Rachel, who I just know via this Advent that we've been doing. This is my 2nd year doing it. And it was a set of minis that we traded with everybody in the group. And then on the final day, we had a nice little present, which was wonderful for me on the 25th to have a present from each of those ladies to open up, because there wasn't you know, there wasn't anything underneath my tree left. So it was nice to have something on Christmas morning. I'm a kid at heart. There was something nice to open up Christmas morning, and I so enjoyed that. So there was some really great, gifts in there, and I love them, all of them. They were so super cool and specially curated. So if we do this again next year, I've already started thinking about things that I would like to do for gifts. So I wrote them in my journal, my 2024 journal that we'll talk about on another episode. But I wrote them in my journal so I would remember next year what to do. So anyway, each day we would have a 10-gram mini that we would open from, so we had 24, and each one of them went into my mitered square blanket. And I can report that it is now an FO. This one that I started, this is Memory Blanket. It is by Georgie, and she used to be Hallam. Now she's Georgie Nicholson. It's a free one. I'm going to talk about this one a little bit. Here is the mitered square blanket. And I want to talk about it. It is in my journal, and I made some notes. So I want to tell you a little bit about it before I show you. I did mine on a size 3 needle. I did, my stitch count was 22 and 22. So I made it a total of 44. And I think that this was a little bit more than 44, the original pattern. Let's see. Oh, she had you casting on with a size 6 and 40 stitches, and I did mine with the size 3, and I did 44 stitches, 22 and 22 on mine. With my gauge, because I'm a little bit loose, they were about 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches. And as I said, I did a size 3 needles, and long about the time I started this, I think I was probably doing it on a Chaigu, and then I saw somebody else was doing a mitered square, and they bought the signature straight needles, the smaller ones, not as long as, I don't know if they were 9-inch, I think maybe 9-inch straights. And that's what I kept with this project the whole time then afterwards, so that I knew that the needle that I was using on it, and then also I knew that the needle was always with it, and that I wasn't using one of my Chiagus for this long-term project, because it definitely was a long-term project. When I was finished, I had 19 by 17 rows of 3.5 inch squares, which came out to 323 total squares. The last square that I put into this was on the 15th, because I could have went on another row, but I was not inclined to do another 17 squares after that. I knew that I was, you know how you are, when you know that it's time to be done with it, and I was ready to be done with this. So the last square I put in on the 15th. I started this blanket in June of 2016, and the final product finished, it was on the 24th of this year. I did 7 rounds of single crochet around the border, and so it's quite huge. In the beginning, I was like hit or miss as to when I would do squares. And then maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, I decided that every Sunday was going to be Scrappy Sunday, and I would put at least 1 square in my blanket every Sunday of the year. And I have done that for several years now. Then when it came to Advent, last year and this year and the year before that, so in the last 3 to 4 years, I would put a square as my Advent in this every day in December. So it grew from there. I had initially thought maybe a year or so ago that I was going to keep on going with this, and that I would make it into a queen size. But as I was knitting on it, I found that I would knit on it on Sundays upstairs, and it was perfect blanket that it was growing so fast, or was getting so big, that I could actually cover up my feet with it and knit at the same time with it. So this particular one is officially done. And if you go out on my Instagram, you can see the total blanket that I threw out on the lawn a week or so ago, a couple weeks ago, before the borders were on, so you could see how large it was. It was one of our last sunny days, and so I took it out and threw it out on the crunchy grass, and that's where it's at. So here we are. Here is the finished product, and I will just show you here what I just did is that I just went around when I was done with the colors as they came from the 15th to the 24th. I just took them from out of the Advent, and I just started single crocheting around it. I just kept going and going around it. And this was kind of fun to single crochet around this. I didn't have to think too much with it, and I just could keep on going. So anyway, it is a monster blanket, but after this podcast, it's going to go upstairs, and that's where it's going to be to keep me warm. So you can see all the mini squares. Now, before the Advent squares that were put in this, a lot of these were donated, were given to me by friends from their projects. And I'd like to maybe do one in the future, but I'm not going to do a mitered square, I don't think, but I'd like to do one just with my leftovers. So that's just something that's kind of noodling around in my brain. I'm not committing to it at this point in time because I do have a habitation throw on the needles that is all teals in that. So that's another one that I would like to continue on with. But for right now, I'm kind of, there's so many things that I want to be knitting on. So anyway, here it goes on forever. And this was a lot of fun to do. I'm glad that it's done. For sure. It would more than cover me right now. There you go. And I have given away all of my leftovers from blanket. They have been mailed out and sent and dropped off today. The last one was dropped off today to a friend. And so all of the my leftovers are, now it's time to start collecting some more. So that is my mitered square blanket, that is my Advent, and that is a wrap for that. Okay. Hapalong. I want to remind you all of a couple of things on the Hapalong. We will be Zooming on the PJ Knits, and the link for that is in the PJ Knits Ravelry group. It's in the header, the link and the password. We will be Zooming on the 1st at 6 p.m. Central Time, Illinois time, and whips are included for the Hap. You can cast on new ones if that's what you want to do, or if you just want to join us on that day and just see what it's all about, see what others are doing, that's perfectly fine as well. Time frame. I know at least we're going to go through the end of June. I foresee this going on into the whole year, a Hapalong, because I can tell you I have 2 Haps in progress, and I have another one that I want to cast on. So totally, this is kind of we know it's going to go till the end of the June and maybe even longer. And so we'd love to have you join us on this Hapalong as we venture into this particular I don't want to call it a technique, but this type of shawl. It's from, I want to say from Shetland, and that's where, that's on my bucket list as well. This is the first one that I did. No, this is the second one I did. The first one I did was for my oldest granddaughter 11 years ago, that we've talked about in the Hapalong episode. And this one was my second one. This was from Denise from Lost City Knits. This is out of the Ultimate Tule book, but you can get it, this pattern on Ravelry. It's the Lyric Harbor Hap shawl. Comes in a full Hap and a half Hap if you want to do, and mine is a full Hap. So this was a super fun one to do. This was my second one that I did. Couple of that I do have. This is one of my whips. This is the Hansel Hap out of Just Beautiful Alpaca. And this I started, several years ago. This is out of a yarn that you can't get anymore, but it's a kind of a sport weight alpaca. And I talked about this before. The intent on this particular one is to have that perfect shawl that you can take, and it's going to be hopefully large. It's going to be all black, I believe, if I have enough yarn. And it's one that you can just put in the car, or you can travel with if you're going, you know, on a plane. And it just does so, the Hap shawl does so many double duties. It's a wrap, it's a blanket, it's a pillow, it covers just your feet if that's what you want, depending on what you're doing. So my intention, this is like my second Hap that I want to work on during this time. So you'll see that this probably is going to December. So that was my first one I've had on the needles for some time. My next one, this is called the Stonington, and I talked about this one too in the Hapalong. This one is Stonington by Elizabeth Zimmerman. I cast it on many years ago, and all it has ever needed was the lace border. And so I picked it up the other day just to get like prep work, and I have started to put the lace border on it. And this is the other night, this was where I put my progress keeper here. I put it on here, and this is what I accomplished in 2 nights. But I was knitting on a sweater at the same time. So I really want to finish this one first and get it blocked. It's going to be not as big as the other ones that I'm planning on. Very simple. It had a little bit of eyelets on it. And again, this is by the Stonington by Elizabeth Zimmerman. This one is done out of Jamieson's Shetland Spindrift in Aqua. And this is a woolly wool for sure. But it's not bad to knit on. And I'm doing it on a size 8 needle. So it's soft already. And I know that some don't like it. It's scratchy, itchy, they say. But on a larger needle, if it softens up quite a bit, as well as when you wash it or block it down the road, they soften up. And after use, I can attest to the fact that this really does soften up down the road. And this is not offensive to me, I don't think, right now. So that is really the first one. This is my first one that I want to finish. And then I would like to cast on a Hansel. And you know, I've talked about this last time. Probably the last 2 times, right? Starbucks Caramel Macchiato. Just a public service announcement. Today's the 30th of December. Check your stars if you're a Starbucks person, because I had some that I lost at the end of November because I didn't use them, and I was about to lose some of my December ones. So if you have stars at Starbucks, check them out. Some expire at the end of the month. By the way, I hope you grabbed your a cuppa and you're knitting while we're sitting here chit-chatting, right? I would love to start another Hansel, and I talked about this before. I had bought some yarn for the cover sweater of the last Shetland Wool Week, and I have vacillated so many times in the last few weeks about which way I wanted to go. And I finally decided the day before yesterday that yarn really has to be that sweater. So I've decided to do, from the Shetland Trader, which is Gudrun Johnston, another Hansel. I'm going to do a full. And that's going to be maybe my cast on when I get a little bored with the lace. But I have decided to do that one, and I am going with my original thought in colors. I want to show you my inspiration photo for this. Okay, and I've talked about this before, right? But this is the inspiration photo. These are the colors that I was trying to match up originally, because I just love that. Well, we all know, right? We all know that these are my colors, the colors of the Caribbean, the color of the ocean, maybe even the color of Iceland, you know, the blue lagoon or whatever. But I really like this play off of the sand and the dirt and the water and the green grass. So this has been an inspiration that's been mulling about for some time in my knitting. And so I have decided to go with the yarn that I had in PYS. This is Foothills Fingering. This is no longer being dyed by Denise, but I've decided to go with this for my center. And then I'm going to pull all of these together in my border. Okay, I'm going to try and do this. This was a leftover from Debbie's Hap, and this is the kind of, it kind of reads greeny brown, right? In the daylight, it's more green, so I really wanted more of a brown, but we're going to see how that works with it. There you go. So those are right now for sure my anticipated Hansel hat that I want to cast on at some point in time, and maybe on the Zoom, because it's easy enough to knit with, even though I have two already. I am just such a fan of this style of shawl, and I really want to investigate, investigate more about this. So I hope that you all will join us in our Hapalong for at least for the new year, 2024. It will be #PJKnittsHapalong on Instagram, and there is already a thread on the PJ Knits Ravelry group. So I hope that some of you will join us. I'm looking forward to periodic Zooms with you all, talking about the Hap. We will have special Zooms for those over the course of at least the next 6 months. So I hope that you will join us for that Hapalong. Next up is I want to give you some updates on what I'm knitting on in the realm of sweaters. I think maybe a lot of you are like me. Now that the Christmas knitting is done, we can concentrate on knitting for ourselves. That's really my thought. And not that I was knitting for a lot of people, but I was knitting on my Advent. I think that's where I was kind of going, was I was knitting on my Advent the whole time. And so it was kind of hard to, it wasn't have to knitting, but I felt like I wanted to keep up with that. So once that was done, it was like freeing, right? It was a freeing thought that I can go back to the things that I had been knitting on and wanting to continue knitting on. So I'm going to just give you some updates of a couple of sweaters that I've been working on. The first one is called Comfy. It's from the 52 Weeks of Easy Knits, and I've shown it before. This is where the Progress Keeper shows where I was the last time. I have split for the sleeves, and I am knitting on the body. This is out of Malabrigo Rios. The main color is Frank Ochre, and the contrast is Hollyhock. I'm loving this, even though it is lots of rib. I won't give anything away on the pattern, but it has something that you do different every other row. And so that's where I was last time. And I had it off the needles on barber cords, and it's going to fit wonderfully once it's blocked. So I am loving this. I have loved knitting on it, and yeah, I will be glad to get to the sleeves. And I'm hoping to have this all done in January. I am heading out mid-February for a few weeks to Florida, and I'm hoping that I will be knitting on some of my transitional spring sweaters from Florida, because when I get back it will be March, and we will be well into time that we should be knitting on transitional sweaters if we want to wear them, at least here in Central Illinois. So I'm hoping to have this done in January. That is the first one. My other one is the April cardigan. I have not been working on it as much as you will see, but this is by Petiteknit out of Sonder yarn, Haze, and Muse. And again, I hope to have this one done by the end of January so that I can be wearing it. And I'm going to show you just the back because I think you can get a better sense of the color. And that's where I was before. Here's where I was last time we were together. I'm loving the yarn. I have arthritis in my thumbs, and kind of extends down into my wrist a little bit. So I've been having a little problem with when I knit on this, shoving the stitches back and forth. So I haven't been knitting on it as much. But I want to pick it back up, and I want to finish this up by the end of January. That is my goal on both of these sweaters, and that is by Petiteknit. I have a couple other sweaters. I'm not going to share them today because I haven't cast them on. I'm really going to try and finish these two. It's been really hard. Every day I've been like this close to wanting to cast on a new sweater, and I'm like, okay, and I mull this in my head and I make some notes and I think, okay, I'm going to do that, and then it's like, stop. You have two sweaters. You'd like to have them done by January. And so let's do, and you're going to start on some haps, and you've been working on the lace. And so I'm like, it's kind of like that. I've got somebody on each of my shoulders telling me what to do. So anyway, I have a couple of sweaters that I would like to do, but realistically, I keep thinking that they may have to be put off till next summer, or next fall for next winter season, because by the time I get back, I would be able to still wear them in March, but I'll be wanting to knit on spring sweaters when I get back for sure. So I'm also, so that's kind of what I'm knitting on right now. I have thoughts, about sweaters that I want to knit on. I have curated a little Christmas bag upstairs that I'm starting to put Christmas yarns in, because now that we're done with Christmas, I thought about this again, and I'm going to do a Christmas in July. That's what I'm going to do. I started putting things into my Christmassy bag for Christmas in July so that I will be ready for next Christmas for things that I want to knit on for me. And a couple of those things that I want to knit on is I want to have a Christmassy colory, the reds and the greens and the creams. I want to have a shawl to wear, a shoulder shawl to wear in 2024 at Christmas. And in order to do that, I have to knit on that right before the season. So I'm making notes in my journal for 2024 of things that I want to knit, and I put them on the July page. So I will know what I want to be knitting on then for Christmas, starting then. I want that. I have I have a sock set that I'd like to cast on, it's that Peppermint Mocha by Freckled Whimsy, their yarn. I want to do that. So I want to knit more Christmas socks for myself. I want to wear my socks next year during the month of December. So that's one of the things. And I'd like to knit a Christmas sweater, some sort of, a couple of sweaters actually. I want to knit one that has some sort of Christmassy vibe to it. There was a pattern that I loved that was a green sweater, and it was a Christmas tree they'd put on it, right? And done in just stitches, not even color work. And then they had put beads on it for the ornaments. And I want to try and reproduce that from maybe, say, this is the Cozy Classic Raglan that I'm wearing here, out of a fingering weight and cumulus. I'd like to maybe take this pattern and do that, something on the front of it, right? You know, that looks like a Christmas tree, and then put some beads on it. I'd like to have that. I'd like to have that to wear next December. I'd like to have a blingy sweater. I have some blingy yarn, and I just have to unearth it and put it in that Christmas bag so that come July I can pull that out, right? And then I can start knitting on those and have them ready when right after Thanksgiving comes. So those are kind of my intentions right now. I'm not going to go and show you my journal for 2023 or 2024. I'm still saving that. Kendra and I will get together in the new year, and I'm going to have her on as a guest to talk about that. So, and just talk about journals in general. I'm not going to necessarily go out there and, you know, do all the things, you know, that others do, but I'm going to I'll show you my journal. I'll show you what my new one looks like as well in the new year, and we'll just kind of talk about, you know, the knitting from last year, 2023, what we knit on, and what we loved and what we didn't like. So we'll talk journals in the next episode for sure. I just want to say to everyone before I close here, thank you so very much for your kind words, for your comments, for those of you who come on Zoom. You make my Saturday nights something to look forward to. I am so appreciative. I'm appreciative to our knitting community. You know, I am meeting people from all over the world, all over the United States, and it is a wonderful, wonderful feeling to have you as friends, even though we've never met in person. I do very much appreciate that. I appreciate my local knitters who are there, and we knit a couple of times a week, and we can kick things around. I appreciate you so very much as well. It's been, I'm blessed. I'm more than blessed. So I hope that you will join us in the Hapalong. Excuse me. And we'll come back in the new year. If you would, please subscribe to my channel. I would very much appreciate that. And if you would like this video, comment below if you are so inclined. In the next couple of days, if you click on the more button below, there will be show notes of what I kind of sort of talked about, and maybe some links as well. I hope that you all have a very healthy, happy new year. I hope that you will keep coming back, and that maybe we will meet somewhere in person at some point in time. So I just want to close with one more thing from The Power of Knitting. And this is such an interesting book, and has a lot of times just hits really home on things, right? The author talks about meeting somebody, an interesting woman that was born in 1900, and she goes into how she had met her, and where this lady lived, and I thought this was very interesting, very I don't know, it just kind of sort of hit home, and I wanted to share this with you. She talks about her name is Gladys, and Gladys told the author, that she lived alone. Her husband had died many years earlier, and that she had no children or relatives. Basically, she was all alone in the world. But, she added, I am perfectly all right. I enjoy being in charge of my life, and I have my knitting to keep me busy. And I just want to do a little added note to there, and we have Zoom, and I am thankful for that, for each and every one of you. Thank you, and we will see you in 2024. Bye!